Hey Warriors, and welcome to week 3 of the Warriors United Learning Series. We're already at the halfway point for this session. Can you believe it? It's already February, and I love February because we are in the midst of an incredibly profitable time of year. I hope you're taking full advantage of the Valentine's Day selling season. I know many of you are because I am astounded by the amount of supply orders and parties that we are receiving each day here at 640 Winter Street. I have even jumped into the warehouse with my husband Curtis when people are out with the flu or extra hands are needed. It is an honor for me to stand side by side with the people that pick and pack your orders. And it's no wonder that we're seeing the business grow the way it is. Look around. This world needs more self-love. It needs more self-care, intimacy, and connection. And we at Athena's, you, me, we are the conduits for these very things. And with Valentine's Day right around the corner and spring fever following soon after, your calendar should be filling up with those profitable parties. Now is your time to shine. I am so grateful to you for your participation in this series. It's so good, isn't it? This week's webinar is no different. We have Grace Keohohou back, and she's going to be talking about bookings. Bookings are the lifeblood of your Athena's business, and she is ready to give you a dose of inspiration on yet another thought-provoking webinar. Like I do every week, I'm going to ask you to close down your social media, eliminate the distractions, and devote the next 35 minutes to becoming a better business owner. You owe it to yourself, and your business will benefit. So here's your first code word. It's build, B-U-I-L-D. Your first code word is build. And here to support you as you build a business that you can be proud of, it's Grace. Grace, take it away.
Hello, Athena's Home Novelties. This is Grace Howe, and I'm excited to be able to be here with you today to share with you about Build It Big with Bookings. We were so thrilled to hear your feedback about our last webinar, the Bounce Forward Game Plan. And if you haven't had the opportunity to listen to that yet, I encourage you to invest the time to do so. We also want to wish you a very happy Valentine's selling season. This is a great time of year to get the word out about your business and the amazing products that you all have to offer. So we're going to go ahead and dive right into our Build It Big with Bookings and how to engage more people to book with you. So let's get this show on the road. So our overview of what we're going to talk about today is to define an abundant calendar. Many people talk about having a lot of bookings in their calendar, but what does that really mean to you? So what is an abundant calendar? How to connect and engage your prospective hosts, as well as what will inspire people to book with you specifically, the unique qualities and attributes that you have that engage people. So fulfill your todays and grow your tomorrows. That's what bookings can do for your business. It's almost like you are growing right now and creating opportunities to expose people to the Athena's difference, to expose people to your products, to the service, and to the business. So bookings fill your todays and your tomorrows. I see them as opportunities to fill your basket. So you have a basket of possibilities in your business, and having this consistent and persistent influx of new connections and contacts, of new people to share about your business with, to have new connections with people to host. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Having those bookings introduces you to more people. I've noticed there's a distinction between a stagnant business and a flourishing business. A stagnant business is the one that continues to work with what they have and continues to only service and connect with those people that are already engaged in their business, their product, or as a team member, versus a thriving business has a consistent influx of new potential hosts and of new possible team members. So fulfilling your todays and growing your tomorrows, that's what bookings does for your business. And it keeps you progressing and moving forward. So, what does an abundant calendar look like to you? And this is where you define it. So, different people say different things. They're like, an abundant calendar to me is one booking a week. An abundant calendar to me is two bookings per week. An abundant calendar to me is three bookings per week. So, whatever that number may be, finding what abundant is and placing it and making a commitment to seeing that through. And notice I didn't say busy, because busy does not always mean productive. Busy does not always mean results. So abundant means the income producing activities, the follow up and connections with people to invite them to book, to engage them in the experience of the products and the service and the education that you all offer. So what does an abundant calendar look like to you? Go ahead and write that down so that that can be something that you focus in on. If it's not a part of your reality right now, writing that down and saying to yourself, asking yourself, how could I make this real? How could I get this kind of abundant looking calendar from my perspective, or something that would be that I would, when I look at that calendar, I love what it looks like. It feels successful and flourishing to you. That will play an important role in your success going forward. When I share with you face the fear and do it anyway, goes along the lines of bookings. And bookings and creating bookings is really a mindset. And the reason I brought this to the forefront in these slides and even in this message is because sometimes what happens is people don't book, or they don't pick up the phone to connect with new people because they have a fear. And so some fears that I've heard that are common are this fear of rejection, or this fear of the no, or this fear of I wouldn't want to bother anyone, or I don't want to be pushy, or I don't want people to feel like I'm selling them something. So facing the fear and do it anyways, I want to share with you some insights that I've recently been exposed to, even in my own practice and what I do. And so facing the fear and do it anyway, it was interesting. I had a conversation with a gentleman. This is where this whole thought originated. And he said, Grace, I'd like for you to coach me around my fear of rejection. And it's such a common request that I felt compelled to talk to you about it today. So fear of rejection, and I asked him, and I'm going to ask this question of all of you, if this is something that you face, where did that thought come from? Where did the concern of being rejected originate? And how did that come about? And he said, well, when I talked to some of my family members about my business, they negated it. They thought it was a horrible idea, and they very quickly, shot me down and basically rejected the idea. And so I asked this gentleman the question. I said, so what do you think caused them to make that statement? And then he proceeded to share with me a few of his insights, and he was getting more and more clarity around that. And then I asked him, so how aware of your business were they to be able to say no? What was their level of awareness when it came to your business for them to say no? And how clear were they on what they were saying no to? And it was so interesting. It was like he was unwrapping right before my eyes. And he said, well, they didn't really know what they were saying no to. And so what do you think the reason for that was? And he was like, well, they were just trying to protect me, or they were trying to keep me safe. They didn't really have all the information. It wasn't about me. It was about, their perception of this business. They're understanding from their own filters of this business. And so that is what it was a very valuable exercise. So then I asked him, so with how much would you say a yes was worth? That was my question to him. How much would you say a yes for your business is worth? And I want you to do this exercise with me on this line. How much is a yes worth to you? So this could be a yes to your business. This could be a yes to booking. This could be a yes to your products. So how much would you say a yes for a booking is worth to you? And I want you to write that number down. And so some people, they share with me, they come back with a response. That yes is worth $100. That yes is worth $250. That yes is worth $500. That yes to that booking is worth, and this was the first time anyone had ever gave me this kind of response. When I asked this question, this woman said $20,000. And I said, that yes is worth $20,000. And I was curious, where did that number come from? And she said, well, Grace, $20,000 for the life of someone being a part of my business, for them to grow to the higher levels of leadership in our company, she's or he is worth 20. That yes could be worth $20,000 to me over time. And I was like, I love your exponential thinking. That's brilliant. And so, how much is a yes worth to you? So, I want you to jot that number down and to keep that in mind. Now, the next part of this exercise that I ran through with this gentleman is I asked him, how many no's do you think it takes to get to your yes? So, how many no's on average does it take to get to your yes? And he said, well, and I hear different responses all the time. This particular gentleman that I was speaking to, he said, Grace, it takes about 10. So I get 10 no's before I get that one yes. And I said, okay, thank you. And I had asked him, so how much is each? Is your yes worth? He said, and he told me his number was $1,000. So his yes was worth $1,000, and it took 10 no's before he got to a yes. And I said, so what's great about this is that every no has value. And that's what I want to share with you all today. So I want you to divide how many no's it takes in order for you to get your yes by the amount that you shared with me, how the value of each yes. So for him, it was $1,000. And so every no was worth $100 to him. If you were to think about it, so let's say it was $250. That was the value of the yes. And let's say there were 10 no's to get to the yes. Each no had a value of $25. So every no has value. And that's the important point here. So being able to face the fear and do it anyway, being reminded that every no carries value. And so I was able to, in that moment, as we went through that exercise and he started hearing, oh my gosh, a no to me is worth $100. That's a whole new way of looking at it. And I said, yes, let me share with you a story around that, if I may. He said, yes, I'd love to hear it. So I shared with him. There was a gentleman that assessed the value of his no and went out and met with a prospect. And the prospect, he shared the information about the products. He shared the information about his services. And the prospect politely said, no, thank you. I'm not interested at this time. And the gentleman looked at him and he said, thank you so much for your consideration. I appreciate that you took the meeting with me. And then he stood up, he started gathering his things, and he said something quietly to himself. And he was delightful. I mean, he was so positive. And the prospect, the gentleman that he had met with, he said, well, what did you just say? He said, oh, I thanked you for your consideration and for the fact that you met with me, and I greatly appreciated your time. He said, no, you said something else quietly after that. And then he said, well, yes, I did say something quietly to myself. I reminded myself how valuable your no was. I reminded myself of how your no is one step closer to my yes. And I appreciated your no. And the prospect just looked at him and said, I have never had anyone respond in this manner to my no ever. He said, I like your attitude. I'm going to adjust my response to a yes. I want to do business with you. I like how you operate. And so, my friends on this line, that the no is not personal, and each no has value. Each no is one step closer to your yes. And when you have that kind of a posture where you embrace the no and you face the fear and do it anyway, you give people an opportunity to say yes. You give them an opportunity rather than keeping it to yourself and holding back. Do I say something? What if they say no? Well, if you say nothing, you get an automatically generated no. It's a guaranteed no because you didn't give them an opportunity or the dignity of choice to say yes to you. So I encourage you to face your fears and do it anyway, to jot down how many no's that you've got, even today, and remind yourself, oh my goodness, that was so valuable. That no is worth $25. It's something to say to yourself. That no was worth $1,000. That no, if you were to use the woman's example where she said it was worth $20,000 over the life of her organization or our relationship with this person, she said, yeah, that's worth $2,000. Every no is worth $2,000. And it's one step closer to her yes. So face the fear and do it anyway. And remind yourself, what would be the worst thing that could happen? What is the worst thing that could happen? And then think about what is the best thing that could happen. So by me speaking up, by me giving people the dignity of choice, what would be the best thing that could happen? I also encourage you to connect and engage your prospective hosts. And how do you do that? Well, I'm going to talk about it right now. Get to know your prospects. I'm very intentional when I meet people, whether it's in a grocery store or it's at a networking function. I'm very intentional about getting to know them better. I'm also intentional about how I could add value to their life. Who is their ideal? If I'm meeting at a networking meeting, tell me a little bit about your business. I'd like to better understand you and what you do. What I have found by taking that approach is that people are more interested when it becomes my opportunity to share, because interested makes me very interesting. So being interested in a transparent and authentic manner, I'm curious what you do. I'm curious who would be your best client. I'm curious, what are some of the challenges that you are facing in your business? Or I'm curious, what are some of the things that are really working for you? This is an opportunity as you're networking to get to know your prospects. In the past, what would happen with our businesses and our profession is we would hit people over the head with all of our enthusiasm and excitement. It's almost like we would throw up all over them. Let me tell you about my products. Let me tell you about my business. Let me tell you about what I do. And people were they're over being told and told and told. Whereas if we give them an opportunity to share, it's almost like there's this eagerness of, tell me about you. I'm so grateful that you were open to hearing about me. Now I would like to hear more about you. And so what is brilliant about you taking that posture and that approach as you're meeting people and understanding more about them is that you often can hit their target, meaning if they are looking for if they are looking to improve their relationships, if they're looking to be to have more awareness and ideas that would be relevant for Athena's and what you do, you're finding that match, that alignment with them versus throwing up a bunch of things and putting it out there and hoping that something lands. Well, when I understand my prospect, I can get an indication very quickly about what would be fantastic for me to bring up when it's my turn to share. I call it the hitting the target or hitting multiple targets with one arrow versus shooting a bunch of arrows and hoping something resonates or lands with them or aligns with what they're looking for. So get to know your prospects, get to understand them a bit better. And even this can even happen when you are at a booking already. Let's say you're already conducting a party and you're sharing with them about the products and services, and people bring you their order form and they say, these are the items that I'd like to order today. Well, great. This is a wonderful start to our collection. And I'm curious. So that's a powerful word. And I'm curious because what it says is that you're interested. And it's a way to remind yourself to be curious. And I'm curious what it may not be on this list that you really wanted to have. What may not have made the final cut before you walked up to me that you really would like to have or to own or to try? Any of those words. And what's great about that is that then they get to thinking, well, I wanted this, or I was thinking about that. And that is an opportunity. Well, if I could share with you how you could get those at a discount or even earn them by hosting and having them completely complimentary, would you be open to hearing more about that? And notice my words. Would you be open to hearing more about that? Would you like to learn if I could share with you how you could earn it by hosting or get a discount on these products? Would you be open to hearing more about that? So what you're doing is you're giving them a reason to book with you. You're not telling them what that reason is. They have told you what that reason is by sharing with you which products they wanted that it didn't necessarily make the order form, which products were of interest to them that they're not necessarily taking those home, and that you have a solution you have an answer to what they're looking for, and that is through hosting. So what I'm sharing with you is rather than just simply, would you like to host or would you like to put together a gathering like this, they don't have a reason to do it. So often the response is, well, I'll think about it, or, well, I don't know, or, well, no, it's not for me, or, oh, I don't know anyone. But if they have a reason to do it because they want this, that, and the other, they are more likely to find a way, make a way. So get to know your prospects. Get to understand what were some of the products that they loved and didn't make the list. Tell me a little bit more about you. I'd like to understand you better. And what's exciting about gathering this information, and this is even what I do in my own business, is that when I meet people and understand a little bit more about their business, I love to be what's called a central meeting place. So I like to network people and connect people with one another. People used to call my mother the eHarmony of business. No, she doesn't find you dates. She does find you. She does find you connections in business, though, and so she and I both have a great passion in that of being a central meeting place and introducing people to each other. What I found is that when you can take the time and invest the time to introduce people to each other that could be mutually beneficial or add value to one another, what happens is it keeps you in sight and in mind. Insight and in mind. And what often happens is the law of reciprocity. People feel this compelling passion to be able to do the same for you. to be able to be thinking of you as they're out and about and meeting people that you could serve, that you could be of benefit, that you could add value to, that would be mutually beneficial for you to meet. So be in sight and in mind. Be interested. Be gather the information so that you can find the reason that people would book and find the need and fill it. So get to know your prospects. Listen for their why. So example, if people are sharing with you, oh my gosh, I don't have time for the people that I love. I'm busy. I don't have time to do the things that I really would love to be able to do in my life. Well, there is the startings of a why. When somebody says I don't have time, wow. Anytime someone says that to me, wow, I I'm wondering how long has that been going on where you don't feel like you have a lot of time for people that you love the most. And people, it's almost like they're not used to being asked a question like that to give them an opportunity to reflect. And so by asking and digging a little bit deeper around that, finding out, oh, okay, so whatever it may be, that is the starting point to a why. So if you were able to share more time with people that you loved, you had more freedom in that area of your life, or if you had more freedom when it came to your time, what would life be like for you? And wait. So if you were to have that kind of flexibility with your time and you were able to share quality moments and with the people that you love the most, what would life be like for you? And that's where you are listening for their reasons and their why, and then you're connecting their why with the benefits of hosting, connecting their why with the benefits of our products, connecting their why with the benefits of our business. So when you can find the need and fill it, that's where you're creating engagement. That's what I call engaging the host. That's what I call engaging the purchase. That's what I call engaging the new um, the new team member into your business. So connect their why with the benefits of what you have to offer. So what will inspire people to book with you? Well, first of all, what inspires people to book with you is that the distinction I like to use is, do they smile when you walk in or do they smile when you walk out? There is a difference. So how do you leave people feeling? What kind of emotions do you evoke when you're in the presence of others? Because when you can be intentional about the emotions you'd like to evoke, and you can be thoughtful about your goals for the conversation and what you would like to see happen or transpire, and then you're intentional about what you're communicating, you are impactful. You will inspire people to book with you. So I'm going to do a quick brief exercise with you, and we're going to dive more into this when I see you at conference. But I want to give you a brief overview. One is to ponder the emotions that you'd like to evoke when you meet someone. So when you meet them, what would you like to spark? What would you like to evoke as far as an emotion? Some people have shared with me, Grace, I'd like for people to be excited. I'd like for people to be hopeful. I'd like for people to be to know that I care about them and that they are valued and valuable. That I'd like for the emotion to spark is that they're special, and that I want them to hear my sincerity. So I want to evoke an emotion of happiness. So that is being intentional. So many people, they go about conversations with people randomly and they get a random outcome. When you can be intentional about the emotion you'd like to spark, that is when you are playing at a higher level. And what I mean by playing at a higher level is people are more likely to move based on emotion. They're more likely to make a decision based on emotion than they ever will based on logic. So if you can be intentional about the emotions you'd like to create and come from this place of service and sincerity, you're going to leave people feeling great. You're going to spark that smiling when that you walk in a room. It's like you're a ray of sunshine and you are magnetic with that approach. Also, I shared with you to be thoughtful about your goals or the outcomes that you'd like to see. There could be an abundance of different outcomes, but being intentional about. So, if it's when you spark a conversation, your goal is that you will have an opportunity to share with them some insight, that you will have an opportunity to further the discussion about booking, that you will book them, that you will engage them in the business, that you will spark an interest for them to meet with you to talk about Athena's as a business. So these are being intentional. This is having a goal in mind, and then beyond that is to have key points that you intend to bring up in your conversation. And what I have found is there is some magnificence behind 3 to 5 key points. 3 to 5 key points. 3 is best because, in my opinion, it's because it keeps things brief. So I have 3 key points that I'm looking to bring up in my conversation with someone. So I'm going to be intentional about, it's called a layering process. And someone said this to me. She said, Grace, this is like a formula for inspiration. This is a formula for great connections. And I said, yes, it is, because formulas are duplicatable. Formulas give you an opportunity to reflect on what worked and what didn't work and to make adjustments as you go along. So formulas and thoughtful, service-oriented formulas are the best. So 3 key points. The reason for 3 is because communicating with impact, communicating in a way that's memorable for people, is to be brief. It is to be timely and brief. Just like you're noticing in our webinar series, we're giving you some specific information and we're brief about it. That tends to keep people engaged. Also, people recall information in sound bites. So when you have 3 key points that you're committed to addressing, it's a sound bite. So I'll give you an example of a sound bite. First impressions, the best impression. Making your first impression your best impression. That is a sound bite. Making your first impression your best impression. Another soundbite is charisma is not duplicatable. Systems are. Charisma is not duplicatable. Systems are. You have a rhythm to your message. You have something that it will be memorable to people. Charisma is not necessarily duplicatable. Systems are. You'll remember that. And the reason I said that is because that's what this is. You're asking yourself, what emotions would I like to spark in the person I'm connecting with? What are some of my goals or my vision for this conversation and the outcomes that I'm looking for, the mutually beneficial outcomes I'm looking for? And then what are some of the key points that I'm going to bring up? So I had a lady share with me, she said, Grace, she was using this formula for leaving a voicemail. And I thought it was so brilliant. She was like, let's talk about how I can leave a voicemail. So what kind of emotion would you like to evoke? So when you're leaving that voicemail, that's communicated. What kind of outcome would you like to see happen? She said, well, Grace, I'd like for them to call me back, or I would like for them to respond promptly, or I'd like them to hear my heart and to know that I'm excited to and looking forward to connecting with them and make me a priority. That's my outcome. Make me a priority as far as who they're going to call back first. And then what are some 3 key points? And she made it very clear. She said, first, acknowledge. So I'm going to acknowledge them and share with them something special and unique about them that I remembered when we first met, or what made them memorable for me, or what made me think of them today. So acknowledgement. The second is the reason. So the reason for my phone call, the reason for my message. And then the third was to an invitation, to invite them um, to learn more, to invite them to have a conversation, to invite them for coffee, and to talk a little bit more about the business, to invite them to an upcoming event of some sort. So the invitation. So the 3 key points in this scenario was: first, acknowledge; second, reason for the call; and third, invitation. So what could your 3 key points be for you? And so I want you to be thinking about that, because this information will unlock what will inspire people to book with you, and how you can be intentional about your communication so that you engage them. So thank you, Athena's family, for this opportunity. I want to remind you very quickly that our code word for this webinar is YOUR, YOUR, YOUR. You're the best. You're amazing. You're persistent by coming onto this call and investing the time to continue to refine your skills, to add to you and to your life and to your business. And I want to commend you for that. So think about what will inspire people to book with you. What will make your call a priority? What will make them feel great to be in your space? So looking forward to hearing your feedback, how this webinar and other webinars have impacted you in your journey. And again, looking forward to seeing you in September. Happy Valentine's Day selling season, and go out there and make a difference for as many relationships and people and individuals as possible. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you all on our next webinar, which will be featuring people smarts. Become a more powerful communicator. Bye for now, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, so how are you feeling after hearing this week's webinar? Are thoughts already swirling around your head about how you want to make others feel when you enter the room? Are you ready to put a value on every no that leads you to that sweet sound of the word yes when it comes to filling your open dates? Well, how about another video challenge where you could win a womanizer to go? Head on over to the WOW page and find the thread that says Webinar Week 3 Challenge. And I want you to post a brief video that contains 2 things. Number 1, how do you feel about hearing no? Let's just be real about how you feel when you ask someone to book a party and they say no. And I'd like to know, did you feel a shift after listening to Grace? And number 2, what emotion do you want to evoke when you speak to someone about booking a party with you? So these are 2 things to put in your video for this challenge. Post your video by midnight on Friday, and I'll pick a winner to receive a womanizer to go, one of the best sex toys on the planet. So I want to remind you that there is no Warrior webinar next week, because we'll be observing Valentine's Day next Wednesday. And the following Wednesday will be our February BBW, and I hope you'll be there live or streaming, because it's going to be a great night. Grace will be returning on Wednesday, February 21st. So the directions to submit your code words for this webinar can be found easily in the email that contained the link to this webinar, and they are posted on the WOW and WAR pages. And I know you're so smart and savvy that you'll be able to find the directions and follow them to a T. And your final code word is business, B-U-S-I-N-E-S-S. Your final code word is business. And now it's time for you to get to business, back to business, and book those parties, fill that calendar, and make sure that you are a thriving, successful business owner. Have a wonderful 2 weeks, and we'll see you soon. I'm so excited for the BBW. Talia Coach is going to be doing her goddess demo before she leaves for Georgia. And Ronnie Carboni will be talking about language and how to make your party guests feel safe and seen. And of course, we have our incentive BBW. It's going to be the business portion. And I even have a member of last year's Gab who will be presenting one of the products from the new line and giving you some demo tips. So I hope you'll be there for that, and I look forward to seeing you there. So my friends, until then, happy Valentine's Day to you. I hope that your day is filled with love and adoration, whether it's your self-love or receiving love and giving love to your significant other. I'll be back soon to introduce Grace, and I'm really having so much fun with this session. I'm so happy the way it's turning out, and I hope you are too. Have a great one. Goddess bless. Bye.